I got back from my trip. I took a cruise on Royal Caribbean's Navigator of the Seas. It was a whole lot of fun and a whole lot of food. Now, I knew this ahead of time, and so I did a little bit of work on the ship. I tried my best to have a really great time without just making food the total focus of my trip, which is very hard because they have a ton of food and it's all really good. So I am going to show you how things went on my cruise as far as the food and the weight gain or the weight loss or whatever it was I had. And hopefully it inspires you if you're taking a vacation or going on a cruise to see how you can go and not gain 1,000 pounds. So I got back, I weighed first thing this morning, and I am happy to say I only gained a half a pound. Now, I almost came on and said that I had no gain at all because half a pound, I think probably tomorrow or the next day it's going to be gone. But I wanted to have full disclosure, just be truthful. And so I did gain a half a pound, but I really watched what I ate. And a couple of times I did go off my diet a bit, but I got right back on the next meal. I tried to be careful about snacking, about desserts, and I'm going to share all that with you because this was a big one for me. Last time I went on a cruise, I hate to tell you this because it's scary. I gained almost 10 pounds. How does that happen? Well, I'm going to tell you. They have buffets. They have snacks. They have ice cream bars. They have alcohol. Now, I don't drink a ton of alcohol. I actually had some, they're like mock cocktails that came with my my refreshment package that I bought. So I could have any of the cocktails without any kind of alcohol in them. But, you know, those still have sugar and calories and that kind of thing. But I did enjoy some, especially some of the spritzers at night with dinner. Those were so good. So one of the things that I did to make it really easy on myself was that I looked up the menus ahead of time so that I knew what was being served on every given day. And I went to the trouble of making an Excel spreadsheet. I did this because I didn't want to be caught, you know, from the left field and not know what was going on and make bad decisions. So let me show you how I did this. So I don't know if Royal Caribbean was unique, but this particular cruise line allowed me to go online and look at the menus for the dining room, what was being served in like the areas where it was snacks or buffets or what have you. And I kind of made a spreadsheet up of what I wanted to have, even including desserts, because I know how things go for me. A lot of times if I'm not prepared mentally, physically, whatever, that's when I have the biggest challenges with going off my diet. And I didn't want this trip. I wanted to enjoy myself. I wanted to enjoy the food, but I did not want to come back and be a month behind starting over in weight loss or 2 months or what have you. So I'm happy with where I am. A half pound, that's nothing. I'll have that off in the next couple days. And it could even be like, you know, a little bit more salt than I'm used to or what have you. So I think it worked out good. So let me show you what I had. I'm going to actually show you pictures, kind of talk about the menu of what I did each day, and then we'll go from there. So we boarded the ship last Friday. We actually got in around 12 o'clock. It was such an easy boarding process with Royal Caribbean. I mean, we literally were on the ship in like 10 minutes. It was amazing. And so I knew that I didn't want to sit down for a big lunch or that kind of thing. So they actually had this thing called, I think it was called Polo Fresh, something like that. But it was like some Mexican choices. It was all free. It was kind of a little buffet thing that you do yourself. They had quesadillas, nachos, burritos, things like that. Well, I took a small amount of chips, like literally like 10 chips. And I put some chicken, I put some beef on it. I put lettuce, I put some things that I knew I could have on my diet other than the chips. And I went ahead and made my own nachos. I put cilantro, onions, like pico de gallo. They were delicious. I really enjoyed them. We kind of sat up by the pool deck and then we shoved off and we went to the main dining room that night for dinner. So, dining room first night was my favorite meal of the whole week. I love prime rib. That is like one, if I see it on the menu, I will get it no matter where I go, anywhere. I absolutely love it. So I started off with a shrimp cocktail that was completely on my diet, a nice amount of protein. I had prime rib. It was served with some vegetables. But anyway, I had the prime rib. It was so delicious. It was cooked to perfection. It was wonderful. And then they had a dark chocolate custard, which was sugar-free. So I opted to go for dessert that night. It was our first night on the ship, and that is what I had for dinner. I was going to have an iced tea. I think I opted for a Diet Coke instead. And from there, I think I also had one of those spritzers. And while I was having my chocolate custard, I also had a decaf coffee. And so I didn't have anything else the rest of the night. There were lots of things that you could have, little extras here and there. They have cookies and ice cream and things all over the ship. You can get pizza almost 24 hours a day. And I opted not to do anything. I was satisfied with what I had and I did really good. The next morning, I woke up. I actually went and rode the bike for 20 minutes. That worked out great. I got a little bit of exercise in and then went for breakfast. So I ended up going to it was called the Windjammer. It's kind of a buffet, but I went into it knowing I was going to be really careful. We didn't eat in the main dining room that morning. I ended up having some grapefruit slices. I had a make your own omelet. So I had to make it out of egg whites only. I did spinach. I believe I did onions and mushrooms. And that was kind of the extent of my omelet. I had an egg white omelet. I did have a couple of lattes downstairs. It was part of my refreshment package. I could have any of the coffee drinks. So I did have 2 lattes, no sugar, no squirts of anything, just milk and coffee. And then for lunch, we did go to the dining room. I had the roasted cod. That was amazing. It was very delicious. And I didn't have any dessert with that. For dinner that night, we had actually paid extra to go to one of the selected restaurants on the ship called Chop's Grill. It was wonderful. It was a steakhouse, and I mean, we're talking premium steaks, such good quality. So I started off by having a salad. They brought a big bowl of bread, fresh bread. I didn't even have a bite of it. I didn't touch the bread. I had a Diet Coke. Then I actually had the gentleman sitting next to me. He had taken his grandmother out for her 90th birthday. And he was telling me all day long he had been drinking these blueberry spritzers, which were like, I think kind of like a ginger ale or a Sprite, blueberries, crushed blueberries. So I had one of those. That was pretty tasty. And so then for my dinner, for my main meal, I had a filet mignon. It was delicious. And every single bite was so tender and delicious. I think I got it medium. Might have got it medium rare, but he told me it wasn't going to be super rare, and it was perfect. It was a little pink, so easy to cut, delicious. That came with baked potato. I had a little bit of sour cream on it. It also came with some vegetables, and that night was my big dessert parfait. That's probably the extra half pound because I had the key lime pie. Now, I've had key lime pie many times in my life. I have never had key lime pie that tasted like that. It was literally, if I could choose a last meal, I would put that on it. It was so good. I've never had meringue like that. The gentleman sitting next to me told me that he ordered the key lime pie because I was just devouring it. And I kept saying, oh my gosh, this meringue, I've never had meringue like this. It was so good. He got his and almost jumped out of his chair. He's like, you know, the meringue actually tastes like cheesecake. It was so, I don't know how to describe it. It was like sticky. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Super fluffy, like really high meringue. It was so good. So the key lime pie, in my opinion, that was the best thing, honestly, I had on the ship. That was so good. So I had some decaffeinated coffee with that, and that was it for my second night on the ship. My third day on the ship was actually, we only spent the morning on the ship because we actually ended up going into port. Our port was Cabo San Lucas. It was wonderful. And so I didn't want to eat a lot because I knew I was going to be going somewhere special in Cabo, and I knew what I was going to be having for my lunch, dinner, and it was so good. We went just to the Windjammer again, and instead of the omelet, I think I opted for some scrambled eggs, and I had a little bit of yogurt. And that was a light breakfast. We went on shore, and we went to a restaurant called Cabo Wabo. I'm actually going to be doing a video of it. It's a restaurant that was built by Sammy Hagar, and this was actually his birthday bash week. And unfortunately, he had performed the night before we got there, and he had performed, I believe, the night after we left. So we missed him. I was so hoping we could see him or something, but anyway, we didn't. But it was so fun going there. Again, it was something else added to my half a pound, I think. So I had the beef fajitas, and I wanted to try their wabarita, which is like their version of the margarita. And I think what made it different was that they put some blue Caraco in it, but those drinks were strong. And I don't usually drink, but like on occasion I do. If we're on a cruise or something, sometimes I'll have a drink. I had 3 of those. I could barely get back to the ship. I don't know what I was thinking, but they made them super strong. I think if I had had 1, it would have been more than enough. But they were so delicious, I ended up getting 3. With the beef fajitas, that was it for me the rest of the night. I didn't have any other dinners. We didn't go down to the main dining room. We just opted to have that as our last meal of the day. I think we ate around, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock, something like that. And my husband might have had something later in the day. So I think he ended up going and having something later. But for me, I was done. That was it for me. And it was the funnest day. I love Cabo. I had a great time there. And we ended up doing the tender boats back and forth. That was kind of fun. I think overall that was probably one of my funner days. I had a really nice time there, and such a good time that I think next year I'm going to make it a goal that I would like to get tickets and go to the birthday bash where Sammy Hagar is performing, maybe with some of his friends, and we can celebrate in the birthday celebration. So that's kind of one of my goals for next year. So the next morning we got up, I ended up having a latte. We went back to the Windjammer, which is, remember, their buffet breakfast. I had another egg white omelet with the spinach and the onion and the mushroom. I didn't have the fruit that day. I believe I had some yogurt with it, and that was all I had. I was careful about breakfast. And that day we actually had an excursion plan that I had paid for before we went on the ship. It was a taco lunch, kind of at a resort. The resort was a wash. It was not a resort. It was kind of this little beach shack right on the beach, which was nice. It was right next to the water, but because there were some hurricanes down south, the waves were humongous and there were a lot of riptides. So although I did try to get like my feet in the water, there was no way I could go swimming. And I really wanted to go swimming, but it wasn't in the cards this trip. So with that, we did get 3 tacos for lunch, and they gave us 2 drinks. I had like the mango margaritas. There really were no alcohol in those, but they were very refreshing and nice to have. The tacos that I had 2 of the mahi-mahi and I had 1 of the beef. I was pretty full after the mahi-mahi and I really didn't have any more after that. So that was it for my lunch. And then when we got back to the ship, we actually ended up having dinner as well. So that night we went to the dining room. It was another delicious meal. I had the onion soup as an appetizer. I didn't eat the bread. I was able to get the cheese off of it and just have the broth with the onions. That was delicious. And with the onion soup, I believe I opted for the garlic shrimp. That was very good. That was a very good dinner. No dessert. I was really good. I pretty much made up my mind. I had a few things off diet, the key lime pie and the chocolate pudding, the first couple nights. After that, I made up my mind, no more dessert. So even though they had, that's not true. I did have one on their birthday bash. So anyway, no dessert that night though, just the shrimp and the onion soup. So the next day we had another day in port and we were going to Puerto Vallarta. And so we actually did go to the dining room that morning. I believe I had an omelet. Again, if I even had an omelet, I opted for the egg white omelet. And then that was it, just coffee and the omelet. I do think it came with a little fruit cup. That was pretty good. And then we did we didn't do an excursion. We went into town. We had an excursion planned that I had prepaid for, and for some reason they canceled it. So we were kind of looking for something to do, and my husband and I have owned a couple of timeshares for years. I mean, we bought them. I bought them on the secondary market. I bought one through a bankruptcy sale and one I got through, I believe it was a trust. I bought it from someone who had passed away. And anyway, I got them literally for pennies on the dollar, but they're really good resorts. We've used both of them many, many times. So there was a gentleman that approached us about a resort that they had put together in Puerto Vallarta. As we had to be members of some type of a timeshare to even go look at it, which we were. And they said that if we went to the timeshare, we could see the resort. It was on like 30,000 acres. This resort was unbelievable. They're putting in a Cirque du Soleil, which is going to be finished being built the end of December. They're putting a water park, an amusement park. I mean, it was beautiful. I'm going to do another video on that separately, just so you can see some of the stuff that they're doing. If you're interested in any of that, I thought it was a lot of fun. We actually ended up going on the tour, and for going on that tour, we got $4,000 towards future cruise credits. So we're going to actually take another cruise down to the Caribbean next year and use those cruise credits. And we got lunch, which was amazing. So with that lunch, I opted for the fish tacos. And even though I'd had them the day before, these were outstanding. I got 3 mahi-mahi fish tacos to die for. They were absolutely delicious, like on a bed of cabbage with all these flavors and lime, and we're talking super good. Again, I couldn't finish 3 of them. I ate 2 of them, and I ate the inside out of the 3rd one, almost finished the inside. I didn't eat the tortilla on the 3rd one. And I had a Diet Coke with that and did a ton of walking. Of course, we didn't buy into the resort because, you know, we already have 2 and we're pretty happy with the ones we have. And so we just, you know, moved on, went back to the ship. It was a great day. I actually had a lot of fun. The lady that took us around was just so fun to talk to and so fun to hang out with. I had a great time. So that was our day in Puerto Vallarta. We did a little bit of shopping going in, Not much. I mean, I knew up front I didn't really want to shop too much. I'm not much of a shopper in stores. I do almost everything online. And so it was a great day. They took us to another part of the island. It was like a jungle. It was just so pretty. We're talking palm trees and bamboo, and oh, it was just beautiful. And so anyway, when we got back to port, I think we had to be back on the boat by 4:30. We were back on by like 3:30, and it was a super fun day. And so we decided we were going to go to the main dining room for dinner that night. So that night I had a Caesar salad in the main dining room. I had the New York strip steak along with some vegetables, and I think that's all I had for that. It was, it was a good meal. I can't say that was the best steak I ever had, but it was okay. I mean, it was all right. I'm not complaining about it. Everything in the main dining room on the Royal Caribbean was really delicious. The next day, we had met some people on the boat. A couple of days before, I had met the wife, and then husband and wife, and my husband and I kind of got together a little bit. And anyway, we decided to have breakfast that morning together. That was very good. Again, I kept trying to stick to my egg white omelet. I had fruit, I actually had a fruit plate with that. And it was a lot of fun. We had some great conversation, just hung out, talked, it was very fun. And so very easy to stay on my diet, had some coffee. For lunch, we ended up, I didn't write down what we did the next day. I think we were eating in the dining room the rest of the time on ship. And I'll be honest, I can't remember what I had for lunch that day, but I know it was on plan. I tried to really stick to my diet. Dinner that night was lobster. I had the lobster tail, and it was the birthday bash for Royal Caribbean Navigator of the Seas. And so I had the lobster. I had vegetables with that. I believe I had a Caesar salad. That was the night I did get dessert, and they were having baked Alaska. I can't pass that up when they have it, and it was celebrating a birthday. So anyway, I ate about half of it. I didn't eat the whole thing. I really, knew I was splurging, so I stuck to half of that. And so lobster was my dinner that night. And then the last day on the ship was again breakfast in the dining room. I had egg white omelet. I had just a really nice, I think I had some muesli earlier when I had my coffee downstairs. Just a little bit of fruit. I think we ate with them again. We were kind of hanging out that last couple of days with this really fun couple, and they also live in California. And so I had the omelet, and for lunch, my husband and I ended up going to a movie that day. We saw Hocus Pocus. It was pretty fun. For lunch that day, I didn't have anything. I ended up having just some popcorn at the movie theater with a Diet Coke. And then for dinner that night, we ended up meeting them for dinner. And it was a delicious dinner. I had 2 starters. I ended up having the Caesar salad and the onion soup again because it was so good. Again, I passed on the bread. I really didn't have any bread the whole trip. I tried to be super careful with that. And so I had the cheese and the broth. I had the Caesar salad. For dinner, they had a pecan salmon. It was like a pecan crusted salmon. That was delicious. And I did get the asparagus with that. It was a very good dinner. I really enjoyed that night. No dessert. I opted for no dessert. I had some decaffeinated coffee while everybody else was enjoying their dessert, and I was done. The next morning, we were disembarking the ship, and so I just had a little muesli with some coffee and finished packing, and we were off the ship. So overall, I would say planning out your meals when you're going on a trip like of this magnitude where you're surrounded by food the whole time is a huge help. And if you can skip desserts, not have too much of the sugary drinks or the, fattening snacks. I mean, if you wanted to, you could pretty much eat all day on a cruise ship. I mean, between the buffets, the outdoor food by the pools, the alcohol. Now, alcohol's another thing. I think some people just get carried away. They get the alcohol package. Alcohol, actually, you can eat up a lot of calories, especially with those sugary drinks. So if you can limit alcohol, you can limit your snacks, still enjoy the food, try to have the things you know are going to be really good, but you don't have to do dessert every night. Maybe do it as a treat a couple of times. That's what I did. The baked Alaska, the key lime pie. You can see why I still gained a half a pound. So overall, I had a great time and I don't feel like I missed out on anything. I thought that the trip went great. So I didn't gain 1,000 pounds and I'm back on track today. I plan on really sticking with my diet, getting right back on track, working out this week, doing everything I need to do. So if you're planning a vacation, if you're planning to go anywhere, see what you can do, checking out the meals ahead of time. Make some plans to enjoy your trip, but stay on your diet. You don't want to come back and blow all the hard work that you've done. It's just too hard to lose the weight. So I hope this was of help to somebody out there. For me, it helped me a ton doing these things, and I'm very happy with the outcome. So thanks for joining me again for another fun-filled day. I had a great vacation. I missed all of you. I wasn't able to film on the ship. It was very hard, but I tried to give videos and pictures for some different things I could do this week to kind of catch up and let you know what's been going on. So thanks for joining me. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Give me a like, a thumbs up, or ring that bell for future notifications. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.